Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon to you. This is Mandy here, and I got a new Sketchbox, and I picked this one up because it said it had watercolor. So I'm excited to dig in. Sketchbox is a subscription service, and I did subscribe for this, but I also canceled just because I'm not sure if the next box is going to be for me because I struggle with it. But it's really affordable when it's the stuff that I like, but I don't use graphite. And so the last box I used, I haven't used the stuff, but it did come with a really pretty gold ink that I think I'm going to use eventually. So it's definitely worth it when I want new supplies, but I do also like to curate my supplies. This one said it was coming with a watercolor palette, so I'm excited to check it out, and I'm going to open it up with you. So yeah, I got the premium, so this one I think was $35 if I remember, but I'm not positive. Oh, okay. It came with a water brush, which I love. I have my Derwent water brush right here, but this one is a little bit smaller, which is kind of nice, I think. Let me see. Yeah, that one looks a little bit smaller. It's a Faber-Castell, and it's got a nice tip. I like that it's just one of the squeeze. I like the Derwent. Yeah, it's a lot smaller than my Derwent one. This is the one I use the most, but it also struggles, gold all over it. It also struggles sometimes to get water out, which is nice, but at the same time, I like to have a couple of these ones where you just squeeze it rather than push a button in my collection. So excited. I needed a new one. I needed a new water brush, so that's really exciting. All right, this is the menu, and this is the artist. This artist is Anastasia Vasileva, and so her information, I like that. That's pretty. That's a pretty print. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have wanted one of these Hanamule watercolor books for a while, so I've heard the paper is really good. I'm excited that I get to try it out today. Yes. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, totally worth it. And then here is their palette. This is what I was really excited about. They said they had their signature palette, and it came nicely packed. I really like the bubble wrap. Oh, that's cute. Oh, look at that. It's very slim. I like that it's really slim, because here's my palette that I take with me now. This is really heavy. This is a chunky guy. It's got all this. This is my, like, it's a lot of it Schminke and a whole bunch of other brands like Daniel Smith and everything. So it's good quality, but it's really big and chunky. And sometimes I like to carry that one, but I also carry this one, and it's thicker. So this is my Winsor & Newton. I don't know, the colors aren't the actual colors it came with, because I've kind of curated it from other palettes. And so this is one if I have little less space, I can take it, but like thin wise, I like how thin this is. I can shove it in a, what do you call it? A little like side pocket, a lot easier. Okay, let's open this bad boy up. Oh, wow. Okay, so there is iris and onyx. So iris is purple, rouge and brown, red and ochre, rojo and pain. So it must be Payne's gray, peach and indigo, pyrus and blue-green, honey and pine, lemon and olive, and white and lime. White, so that might be really nice for giving it a little bit of a sheen. Oh my gosh, I really like how slim and nice this is. I'm wondering how big the palette is. Now I'm gonna look and see. This is a wide range of colors, compact and easy to clean. It's perfect for artists on the go. Oh, they're supposed to come with a watercolor pencil. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so I missed this. It came with a really cute sticker. It came with a Caran d'Ache watercolor pencil. I'm really glad that I looked at this, which is nice. And then it came with a Copic multiliner. Whoo! It's a waterproof fine liner. I've heard good things about the Copics. I have never used the Copic fine liners, and this one is in a warm gray, so that might be nice to try out. Okay, and I am excited. I'm really excited about this sketchbook. So let's open it up and go ahead and get started swatching these beautiful colors. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is very nice. And the first page is going to be the swatching. This is 30 sheets, which is 60 pages, because I don't know how many people use front and back, but I tend to, in my sketchbooks, use the front and back. So, oh, and this end page is watercolor, so I can try that out right there. And then I'll have my menu of colors on the first page. And so I like to wet my stuff down with a spray bottle. So I'm just going to wet these down a little bit with a spray bottle to activate them. Okay. And I'm not going to use this one that it came with. I'm going to use my own. And this one is a Princeton Velvet Touch in a size 6 round. So I am going to start on the top row. It needs a little bit more water. It's very dry. Okay. And we're going to just go through these. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's very, very, very thick consistency. The color is very vibrant on the iris. Wow, look at that. Ooh, I love that. I love like a nice bold purple, and that is definitely a bold purple. Ooh. And I think what I'm going to do is use this fine liner to label it. Iris. Okay. Oh, that's really gray. Light gray. I prefer black when I'm working, like lining, or I've been using a green lately. Okay, this one is the rouge. I'm wondering if any of this is going to have nice granulating. It seems like the rouge might. It would be nice to see like the actual colors, like what pigments they used. I might have to look that up online. And this is red. Yeah, that's like a pinky red. It's got that pink tone to it. Red. Okay. Rojo. There's your cadmium red, like that. This is a really nice selection of colors. I'm excited about the colors that it came with. I am always up for trying new watercolor palettes. I kind of obsessed with watercolor. And this one was Pyrus. I hope I'll be able to buy refills of each of them. The actual watercolor palette says it is retail price of $18. Oh, that was not Pyrus. That was Peach. This is Pyrus. Whoops. I'll write Peach and then flip-flop them. This is Pyrus right here. So I'll write Peach and go like this. Flip, flop. Okay. Honey, lemon, and white. I do like how nice they are. This watercolor paper is very nice too. It stays wet a little longer, which is nice when you're wanting to mix things. I'm gonna skip white on this line because I don't think you're gonna be able to see white on here. Honey and lemon. Yeah, So there's a lot of choices from rouge to lemon. Yeah, I almost wish there was like an in-between of these two, but this is a nice range for the top. And so we'll go down to the bottom now. Onyx. Oh, that's a nice black. So I'm curious to see if this one granulates like a lot of blacks do, or if it stays very matte, because I'd like a black that doesn't. I have a Daniel Smith, the lamp black, and that one granulates a lot. And my palette that I got for my Schminke that was supposed to come with black, the black was broken. So I don't have a black in Schminke. This one's brown. This looks like a burnt sienna to me, but they call it just brown. This one I'm not that impressed with. That one's not great. See, the only problem I have so far right now looking at this palette is that I'd want to replace that because I don't like it. I don't like how it mixes. It's very, very, very transparent, which I know a lot of people like. I like my thicker. That's why I like Schminke so much, is because I like thicker paint. See, like this one's your ochre, and I like that much better. That looks more thick. But for the price, this is actually a really nice palette so far. Payne. So I'm obsessed with Payne's Gray. That one's very, very, very transparent. I wonder down here if I'll be able to get a thicker color. This is indigo. Okay, that's a pretty blue. Look, that bright, pretty blue. That's nice. I like that. See, I always like that. That looks like a phthalo blue to me. I'm not, so to be clear, I am not a color expert, but it looks a lot like my Beams, PB 15.1, which is their Almost Night, which is their phthalo blue. It looks a lot like that. So I do like that. I wonder what that would look like if I put it next to the phthalo blue. This one is blue-green. That's not too bad. I don't know if I like that one as much as some. Okay, now the real test of the greens, because I have an obsession with green watercolor. There's your phthalo green, which they just call pine. That doesn't look like pine to me. That's like a bright phthalo green. I would want that to be, I would like that to be more cobalty. But I know cobalt is a really expensive pigment, and I don't usually get it in many palettes. Here's your sap green, they call olive. I do like that tone. That's really bright and vibrant. I like that a lot. And then lime. I want to see how some of these mix too. So we will try a couple mixes. I want to see how this blue-green and the indigo work together. Well, let's see. I'm not going to do too many mixes. I just want to see how they do mix, like working with this palette and seeing if the palette works nice. So I'm going to take a little bit of that indigo. That is a really nice deep blue, and then take some of that, and then you get a really nice teal, which is a lot of times what the phthalates do together. And that is a color that I always really like having in my palette. Okay. That is really, that's a nice, so it is, I do get a nice tone. So that's a color I use quite often. Let's see. Let's try the sap green with the lemon, because it's another color I use. And sometimes that's the lime, but it's nice to be able to mix. I like mixing, and I do want to try to mix the white in with it to see how opaque it gets. Because white, I do mix a lot of gouache for white. So that is, it doesn't get as opaque maybe, but chalky. It's a nice color. But if I mix it here, that's a really nice. So if I mix those together, then I get a nice green, nice light green, and it is a little bit opaque. So as long as you get a lot of white, but I'll probably end up using a lot of that white. That's what's going to happen. So then I don't have as much, but I have a lot of white gouache that I could put in there. It just would be a small little bit. Okay. All right. So then I like to see how, so I mix a lot of purple to make this really pretty dark blue. I mix a lot of purple with a phthalo green, and you get this really beautiful blue. And I use this a lot too in my darker areas, because it's, I don't know how I figured this out. This was just an experiment, and I like to figure out this color, but I use it a lot now in trees and foliage. So that's another mixing. And this one is a really nice, and it gives nice, I want to see how that dries, but that pool's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, now I want to try a couple of the reds, and then I think that's about done, and I want to see how they dry. And yeah, so I like to mix this. I do want to mix a little bit of this red. I do like this Rojo with a sap green. You get a nice brown, but I want to see how thick it can get, or granulating, because I don't think a lot of these aren't really granulating. And there's something that I like. See, now that's more, see, this is a better brown than up here, this brown. I would just mix. I would skip this brown completely. It's not good, which is really disappointing. But I can still get a nice brown mixing that Rojo. That Rojo is a nice thick pigment, which is something that I really look for and I really like. Let's see. I think one more. I'll do a couple more here, but I'm trying to decide. I want to do the Pyrus mixed with that Rojo. And that gets, see, now that is beautiful. I'm gonna get a little bit more Pyrus. Okay, that is like your beautiful fire engine orange, like just like bright orange right there. Love that. Love. Okay, that is gorgeous. Now, but now what about the red with the Pyrus? What they call red with Pyrus. This is what I'm doing. Okay, you get a more muted orange. So that's nice too. Get a couple different, I mean, they're really close, obviously, because you're mixing that Pyrus, but that's nice too. Okay, one more. What if I mix the onyx with the pain? I have enough room. Love pain's great. Okay, see now on my palette it gets really thick. Can I get it thicker? Oh, okay, see, so I didn't get it as thick the first time I put it on, but what about now if I mix it with the onyx? How about that? Onyx just kind of takes over, but I do love, okay, so this is better. It must just not have had enough water or too much water. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened in that first swatch, but this swatch is far more what I like, especially next to this guy. I don't know what else to mix. I'm kind of just playing. This is just me testing it out. It does get a little bit thicker. We'll try this. And get a really nice rouge with the blue violet, oh, blue green. That's a nice warm purple. So you can get a lot of range. And that's what I like about having a palette like this. You can get a lot of colors, like so many different colors. Like if I added, like, I don't know, I'm talking, but this is what I do. This is what I do. I mix and I just play. Like I've still been figuring out what I like to mix. Like I'm mixing ochre with greens and blues. Indigo, we'll mix that with a little indigo and see what happens here. Get a really muted teal, which is sometimes nice if you put it, I'll put it right next to this. It's far more muted. I want a little bit more ochre in there. Yeah. But it's more muted than if I mix the purple. But it's so interesting to me, like mixing colors, because I mixed this with this to get this one. And then I mixed this with an indigo, and like, they're very similar colors, but there's just a little bit of difference. This has a little bit more green, which is funny. Like, it's just interesting to me. I find mixing colors very interesting. Another color that I wonder if I could get, because the more this dries, the indigo is really close to ultramarine. I want to see if I can get a nice gray. Because Jane's Gray by Daniel Smith is ultramarine and burnt sienna, and I really like that color. See, now this is like a deep green, which is okay. So the pigments are very different, and that's the hard part, is not knowing the pigments. So a lot of this, if you were to get this palette, or any palette, because you can do this with a lot of palettes, is to mix the colors to find colors that you like, because you can mix some pretty nice colors when you're doing this. So that was this with indigo. So it's a really nice green, and this would, so I would start with this in an area, but this would, I probably wouldn't start with this, but I would do this in an area for like a foliage at the bottom. And that is really nice to get like your pine color. See, this is the kind of color, that's the kind of green I really like to work with darks. And then you could put, I'd mix a little sap green in it. And then you could have, so you get your little bit lighter of a green, and that would go, you know, right on the top. And then so not obviously, so I would start with the lighter color first, but yeah, so there's a lot of things that you can get with this palette. So this is a good palette. Like, I am happy that I got this Sketchbox. It's hard too, because I think, especially for a beginner, getting a palette like this is very comparable to the Winsor & Newton Cotman palette. I don't know if these are half pans, but this one, this like says retail, and I don't know if they're going to sell this retail, but this is $18. They say retail. And it is, so they do call this opaque watercolor palette. So, it is opaque. So it's thicker. It should be a thicker, more opaque. Like the Cotman are really transparent. Like if I pull, and one of these isn't Cotman, that's not Cotman, that's a higher quality. But if I pull this, this is so transparent because it is student grade. I don't know if this is, I wouldn't necessarily say this was artist grade, but this is how light the Cotman is. So the price, if you want the thicker, because I got this for $20, and I got this one at, I believe I got this one at Michael's here in my town. But if I was going to spend $20, I'd want the more opaque. So I would do this. This is definitely worth the cost. I'm excited to take this with me. This color is drying just absolutely gorgeous. And that was the rouge mixed with, what was that rouge mixed with? The purple, I think. Oh no, rouge mixed with the blue green. So this page is just kind of my first page. What I like to do is do color charts, and so like then I'll have the whole color chart, but I really wanted to just try this paper, and I am digging the paper. So I'm excited to have a Hanamule watercolor book. It's been something that I've wanted to get on my list, and yeah. I don't know how much I will use this warm gray Copic. I don't really like, for myself, I don't really like the really thin pens. I use a fine to a broad Lamy pen, and I put my own ink in it. But this is another watercolor pencil. This is a watercolor pencil. So let's see. I don't have any Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. The only ones I have are Caran d'Ache. They're the super color. So this is highly pigmented, and it can get really dark. It can get really, even in the tooth. And then where's my paintbrush? Yeah, so I mean, that works just like any normal watercolor pencil. I don't use watercolor pencils all that often, but like I don't know how to use them. So if anybody has any tips on how to use them, or like some different tutorials, I would love to know how other people use their watercolor pencils, because it's something I'm still learning. But yeah, so that's it. This is the Sketchbox that I got. This is something I purchased myself, trying it out, and I definitely am excited about taking this little palette with me. This is a nice, really thin, really good color for the most part. I mean, I would get rid of the brown. I think I would have done a darker green or a different blue, because it is missing like a true phthalo blue and a true ultramarine. So I think if I were to have done this, because you have so many different oranges up here, I would have given it another blue. And the Payne's gray is really great once you get it really thick, but again, like, I don't think you need this many yellows. That's just my opinion. I need a couple more blues and greens. So it's really heavy on the reds. And if I could swap out some of these paints, I would. I think what I'll do is, I really like this palette. So what I'll do is, once I have used all these, or they have dried, maybe I can pop them out and put in some of my colors that I'd rather have. Because I'd get rid of this brown, and I'd get rid of this blue-green. This one's not necessary to me, at least for my work. This one's not necessary. This one's not necessary. And I even would maybe get rid of the honey or the peach, because they're very close. So I could throw in my, like, because I use a lot of greens. I have this beautiful dark cobalt and then the light cobalt green. So I would want those in my palette. I also really like Daniel Smith's, I forget what it's called. What is it? Do I have it labeled? This one, this green, green apatite. I have green apatite that I really like, because it's got a really nice granulation. I like granulation. I like thick, which is why I like my Schminke. But green apatite is another color that I use a lot. So I use these three, and you can tell that I use these two so much. So yeah, those are the changes I would make, because I can get this brown. If I were to add a little bit more of the yellow, I could get this brown just by mixing, and this is not a good brown, like, not at all. So those are my only things. But for the price of this Sketchbox and the things that I got, this is definitely worth it. I'm excited to play with this. This is definitely a nice watercolor pencil. And yeah, so, and getting a new brush, refillable brush, water brush is great too. So that is everything. Thank you so much for watching my swatching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.